Thank you very much for joining us today and welcome. So today we want to focus on how to enhance the supply chain performance in the area of intralogistics and manufacturing with SAP, which directly brings us also to this integration of SAP DMC Manufacturing Cloud and SAP Extended Warehouse Management. So we will start by exploring trends and challenges that lead to the relevance of that integration. And I'm also happy that Sunita from SAP is joining us today to then also bring in SAP strategy for manufacturing. Before we then look into the digital manufacturing cloud on a high level, which then builds the foundation for us to then jump really into that main part for today, which is this interplay between warehousing and manufacturing. And we will also, of course, demonstrate this in a live demo later today. Before we get started, let me introduce the team that is joining me for today's session. So starting with Sunita from SAP, responsible for the business development in Middle Eastern Europe for supply chain and production management. We also have Uritra from our warehousing team, who is an EWM consultant with more than 9 years of SAP experience in ERP and EWM. Also happy that we have Alexander here with us, who's part of our Industry 4.0 team and focuses on manufacturing asset management. And last but not least, my name is Matthias. I'm leading our global Industry 4.0 practice and have more than 10 years of experience in the area of SAP supply chain. A few practical terms for this webinar. As you probably have noticed, everyone will be muted. You can raise your questions in the chat box on the right side of your screen. Those questions we then collected and will answer them at the end of the presentation. So post the questions at any time. The presentation will be also recorded and then distributed afterwards. I think also something to highlight. So this is the second webinar of our Industry 4.0 series. So there will be more in the next few weeks, focusing on the intelligent asset management, and further ones also focusing on the manufacturing side, where we look at, for example, the PP and DMC integration and interplay. We look at resource orchestration with the DMC system. To sign up for those webinars, look out for them at our website, or you'll also find them in our on our YouTube channel. Good. Having said that, so who are you talking to? Who's Westernacher in a nutshell? So we are an SAP Gold partner with a history of more than 50 years. We have 650 consultants globally, from the Americas to Europe to Asia, and are 100% employee owned. What we do is we cover the SAP digital supply chain solution portfolio, from planning to manufacturing up to the logistics execution, all integrated into SAP ERP and finance. For today's session, the three of us from Westernacher side, we are part of our Industry 4.0 team that focuses on the aspects of asset management and manufacturing with SAP technology, and by that basically bridging the planning side and the logistics execution side, but also integrating then machines, so OT and the processes. And we tackle this both from an IT and business angle. To basically set the scene for today's webinar, looking at the business side of the importance of this topic is on the one hand side, when we look at the state of our supply chain that demands that interplay of warehousing and manufacturing. Of course, one thing is that we clearly see lot size 1, or in general smaller quantities or smaller orders with high variation. And that means production is happening in smaller batches, which increases the need for flexibility, accuracy, and especially also integration of those two worlds, warehousing and production. So instead of, in that case, they're moving larger quantities to the production supply area, this accurate supply of smaller quantities needs to happen. And another topic is that we see in our warehousing projects a lot is in high increase of these value-added services. That that then require, for example, production processes to tailor a certain product or finish a certain product in the warehouse for a specific customer, for example, which then again highlights the fact that both worlds, warehousing and manufacturing, need to be well integrated here. And not only in the e-commerce space, but also in any disruption and short-term changes in the supply chain, or for example, custom orders that will be cancelled or placed very late in time. We see that requirement of a high degree of agility, and a high agility, of course, in the manufacturing processes also forces the warehousing processes to be much more agile. And this only works if those two worlds again are combined and fully integrated. What we also see is that when we look at the efficiency of a supply chain, there's also demand of basically optimization of inventories, reducing buffer capacities, and this can be only achieved by fully integrating then again those two processes and reducing those safety buffers. And last but not least, regulations and customers ask for an end-to-end traceability of products, and so even beyond company level, which for sure also means then a tight integration of warehousing and manufacturing. So in these 5 points that I just mentioned, just few of them. So there's a long list of reasons why a modern supply chain, a state-of-the-art supply chain, requires this tight integration of warehousing and manufacturing. To sum it up, it is key to bring together warehousing and manufacturing execution to increase efficiency, flexibility, and overall optimize also stock levels on the shop floor. So having said that, I will now happy to hand over to Sunita to give us more insights into how or what is SAP's strategy in the area of manufacturing, and also how SAP sees this topic that we are focusing on today.
Yeah, so basically to us, it is really important that we have this end-to-end integration from a sense of design to operate. So we offer different MES solutions, all integrated with warehouse management. And there is a choice between on-premise solutions, represented here in the slide by SAP Manufacturing Suite, and cloud solutions represented by SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud, and lastly, embedded MES solutions embedded in the ERP represented by SAP S/4HANA Manufacturing. Yeah, so let me go first into the cloud solution. This is our newest MES solution. The focus here is to basically be completely in the cloud with the execution part, kind of a planning solution for real-time issues, and also analytics, all of that out of the box, both for the discrete industry and for the process industry. And then we have our trusted SAP Manufacturing Suite, and here we have an out-of-the-box standard MES solution for the discrete industry with SAP Manufacturing Execution, and then our platform solution for the manufacturing business, especially for businesses where you say, okay, I don't want to have a standard MES, I want to build my own because my process is highly specific, or where you say, okay, I have an existing MES system I cannot take out, but I want to extend that into new areas. And for that purpose, manufacturing integration and intelligence is the ideal development platform. This is complemented by SAP Manufacturing Connectivity. SAP Manufacturing Connectivity is not only available for SAP Manufacturing Suite, but is basically for all of our MES solutions, the integration for the equipment. So when you're on the shop floor with HEVs, for instance, for a manufacturing use case with warehousing and intralogistics, the HEV would be integrated through plant connectivity, whether it's into the cloud or whether it's on-premise. And then lastly, we have the embedded MES solution. This is targeted at the IMC industry for customers who build expensive, complex, customer-oriented equipments. And yeah, our planning solution also supports all of our manufacturing solutions and is meaningful also in terms of intralogistics, since good planning makes then the intralogistics significantly easier, as if everything is an ad hoc decision. So from here, I want to give back to my colleagues to continue the presentation. Thank you very much.
Let's give you a very brief introduction to the Digital Manufacturing Cloud and how it interacts with SAP's extended warehouse management. If you want to get a more detailed overview of the DMC, we have held a webinar 2 weeks ago where we explained the capabilities in detail. And as Matthias already mentioned, you can find that on YouTube. Regarding the SAP EWM, we assume that everybody more or less knows what this solution includes. So just very briefly, the SAP EWM is generally represents the standard SAP platform that provides capabilities of managing your inventory and basically takes over the overall management of your movements of goods. So looking at what is in front of us, and as Sunita has already outlined, the insights and execution modules are really the main parts of the DMC, whereby the execution element is covering the functionalities to conduct either an automated or manual production. So, and the insights module, on the other hand, is responsible for data analysis and KPI monitoring. So on the left-hand side, you can see the resource orchestration, or also called REO module, which is where you can dispatch and sequence your operations to different resources. So resources are in the context of DMC machines or generally equipment that you need to conduct the production. Through the automation functionality, the DMC provides a tight integration of machines on the shop floor, which basically enables fast data processing in near real time, and also enables implementations of all kinds of automation scenarios. So coming to the right side of our cloud, you can see the manufacturing network, which enables you to collaborate with different network partners like customers, OEMs, suppliers, and also other service providers. And finally, we have the out-of-the-box integration to the asset management, which allows you to implement scenarios of a smart factory. Now let's have a deeper look into the DMC execution and how you can benefit from an integration to the EWM. First and foremost, the DMC for execution will enable you to monitor the entire manufacturing process. So through the combination of the capabilities of the tight shop floor integration and the resource orchestration module, where you can plan your operations directly on the shop floor, you are generating data about your entire manufacturing process. So as Matthias has outlined before, digital end-to-end traceability of your product is really crucial in terms of optimizing your processes, if that is in regards to efficiency, effectiveness, or agility. So, but these benefits can only be fully unfolded when there's a tight horizontal integration into other business systems. So when we are speaking about the integration to the EWM, you are able to optimize your just-in-time management from the warehouse to the production, because you can tell when you need, or you can specifically tell when you need which material at which location. And this, of course, also has a positive effect on your general material demand and buffer capacity planning. So the high flexibility that the DMC is providing is only completely useful when it is integrated into an optimized and flexible warehouse system. So if we, for example, have an execution scenario where a short-term incident occurs, and this is causing a rescheduling of our production operations, then the warehouse should be informed automatically and directly to reschedule the supply of the material for this rescheduled operation. Okay, then let's move on to the insights part, where just very briefly give you an overview of the capabilities just to complete the picture. So first of all, the DMCI allows you to carry out its various analysis on multiple levels of the company. So this is if that is on the enterprise level or all the way down to the resource or work center level. Also, the tight shop floor integration that we have spoken of allows a central management of your physical objects on the shop floor and also a near real-time data collection. Additionally, the DMCI provides multiple adapters and interfaces that ensures that all commonly used communication formats can be integrated, and you can achieve vertical, really, and horizontal integration. And lastly, it is a high configurable solution, so you can design your dashboards as you like and customize them as you like. So to now give you the details on how the actual integration of the process between the warehouse and the manufacturing could look like, I'll hand over to Oritra.
We'll now speak about the integration of SAP EWM with DMC. In short, with the introduction of DMC, the production process in EWM has become much more streamlined and effective. Any stock booking that we perform in DMC is immediately reflected in EWM and vice versa. This kind of synchronous booking increases transparency between the systems to multifold. If we look at the slide in front of us, we have mentioned that DMC has helped us increase inventory visibility and control. What do we mean by this? Now in DMC, in order management, there is a functionality to release order quantities for staging when required. In simple terms, now production personnel on the production line has the control what quantity is to be staged and when. The control has been transferred from the warehouse to the production lines. Thereby, we can say that the production staging has transformed from a push type to a pull type strategy. We will during our session today, we'll also go through a short demo. We'll start it by creation of a production order, which will be transferred to DMC and EWM in parallel. Once we will follow it up by the release of the production order in DMC. This is what we spoke about a bit earlier, that we'll have the control in DMC of releasing quantity as required when required. So when this has been identified in this slide with highlighted in blue and marked in 2, we have identified this interface. This will create a order in the warehouse which will be executed by the warehouse personnel. It will be transported, the stock will be transported from the warehouse to the production supply area. Once this is done, once the stock is in production supply area, there is an interface which immediately transfers the same to DMC. DMC is informed that the stock is now in production supply area. We'll follow this up with stock consumption initiated in DMC, which will be followed by goods receipt. Again, that will also be initiated in DMC. Well, both of these interfaces for stock consumption and goods receipt will be communicated immediately back to EWM and thereby ERP. It's worth mentioning over here that this entire process that we're going to perform can be enriched by any quality management we are using. It can be a quality management of S/4HANA or the QI of EWM. Also, we'll see that the packaging of stock in DMC, we have a very effective and simple visualization. On the right hand side of this slide, we have listed the interfaces that we'll be using. For our demonstration today, we have a short story with us, and we have 3 characters. Firstly, we have Lisa, who is the production planner. Well, Lisa has a lot of stuff to do besides the MRP and then balancing load across the lines. But for our story today, Lisa will be creating a production order and releasing it. We have Felix, who will be working in DMC or the Digital Manufacturing Cloud. Felix is the precision assembler and the quality inspector. Last but not least, we have Tom, our warehouse associate. So Tom will be responsible for transporting stock from the warehouse to the production supply area. Also, after completion of the production process, Tom will be taking the end products to the warehouse. So without spending much more time over here, we'll get into the demonstration that we have planned for today. So we'll go to SAP. We'll start with the SAP PP component. We'll go to transaction CO0 on the PP component for creation of a warehouse of a production order. The material we're planning to create today is called B222 motherboard. We'll be using a standard production order type of PP01 in plant MF01. So let's try it for a quantity of 3. We'll set the scheduling, and we'll take a look at the components we have today for this motherboard. It's a sample material that requires 3 components. A circuit, small. Notice that the quantity has been calculated as per our end product quantity. That is, it's like we are producing 3 motherboards, so we have 3 quantities of circuit, some resistors and some capacitors. The operations in this order will be performing are assembly, testing, and printing or labeling. All of these will be performed in the DMC, which we'll see during our demonstration today. We'll now release the order. This activity will send a copy of this particular order to the digital manufacturing cloud in real time. We'll also perform something called the execution of WM material staging, which is not actually a real staging. It's just transferring a copy of the production order to the EWM system. This step, let me mention over here, can be automated. For today's demo, we have kept it manual. We'll save this order now, and we'll have our order number, which is we have our order number. So Lisa has completed her job today. Lisa has helped us create a production order, and Lisa has released it to DMC and EWM. The next task will be performed by Felix. Felix will now be logging into DMC. So DMC is hosted in cloud, as we know, by SAP, and it can be accessed by any browser. For today's demo, we are using Google Chrome. This thing we see in front of us, it's the normal Fiori skin. We'll go into the application, manage orders. Right. We'll look out for our order here, which is 1000 followed by 455. This visualization tells us the order number, the quantity, and the quantity that has already been released. In our order, the quantity released is 0. We'll be able to do a partial release over here. We'll click on the order to get, so we'll do a partial release. And this is what we meant when we said that the control now lies with the DMC or the production line. We'll be able to release whatever quantity we're ready to produce on the lines. For today, we'll release 2 quantity. This will do 2 things. Number 1, it will create a shop floor control, which will be referred to in the follow-on process in DMC. And it will also send a staging request or a signal to warehouse to say that, okay, this quantity of these components are ready to be staged. We'll go back to see that what is the next activity. The next activity lies with Tom, our warehouse associate. So Tom over here has a RF handheld. He is on the warehouse floor, and he logs into his RF handle on the warehouse floor. Right? He will now he'll go to the queue staging, where the order will be displayed that this is the quantity, this is the stock we need to stage. He's creating a handling unit right now, or a pick handling unit, so that he can transport all the stock together to the production line. This is the first material. Now the system is directing Tom to go to the particular bin to scan the handling unit or the source handling unit in the source bin, and the system also tells Tom what is the quantity to be picked. If we observe over here, we had released 2 quantities, so therefore the quantity of components that have been released correspond to 2 quantities of the end product. So after picking this first component, Tom moves on to the second bin, all system directed, and also the quantity that Tom is supposed to pick displayed there. The third quantity will move on to observe over here that the destination handling unit is the same for all the 3 components. That is, all the components are picked onto one handling unit before they're moved to the production supply area. This bin that we are scanning over here, it's the production supply area bin. Once this job is performed, once this activity is performed, the stock is now in the production supply area, and EWM immediately sends an interface to the SAP DMC. Tom has completed his activity for the time being, I'll say for the time being, before Felix starts the assembly or the production process in DMC. To role play Felix, I think I'll hand this over to my colleague Alex.
Okay, now as you can see, we have conducted all the gathering of our materials, and now we are starting the assembly basically. Then we'll perform all the operations that you have seen before and that Oritra has shown you within the ERP system within the DMC. So we're doing the inspection, the labeling, and the packaging, and then we'll send the packaged good all back to the warehouse, where Tom can store it then within the warehouse. So if we go back to the DMC, we first of all take a look if Tom has performed his tasks well, and we take a look at the manage floor stocks, which is basically the interface between the warehouse and or represents the interface between the warehouse and the manufacturing site. So here all the production supply areas and receiving areas are maintained, and here we are also able to see the material that has been staged by Tom. So if we take a look at that, we can see that we have all the materials in place. So we have the capacity or the quantity for the capacitors, the circuit boards, which are 2, and the respective resistors. So Tom has done his job, and we can start with the assembly. Therefore, we're going to go into the operation activity, POD, which is basically the standard dashboard designed by SAP. But as I have said before, and as we will see later on, you can also design your own production operator dashboards. So if we go in here now, we can see, first of all, our filter options. We have the operation activity that is going to be performed, which in our case is the assembly, and we have the resource, so the machine or the equipment or at which the activity is performed. So this we have called ASI, and here we are able to see both the materials that are going to be created, which have the distinct identifier of SHCs or shop floor control numbers for the respective order of 455. So in terms, or for the sake of this demonstration, I will only perform the assembly for one material. So we'll start the process at the operation assembly, and when we go to activities, we can see first of all that we have our work instructions in place. So if we have forgotten somehow how to assemble the material, we can look it up in here. in terms of the data collection list, is just that you can say, okay, a machine or a worker shall collect any kind of data within this operation activity. But this is we will not cover this within this demonstration. So for the component list, we can see again that we have these 3 components that shall be assembled. And when we click on this assemble button, we can see multiple of things. And when we look at this inventory SFC, this is basically the pointer where it points at the production site, or at the material on the production site, production supply area. Excuse me. So if we click on that, we can see there are 2 circuit boards small, which we will then add to the motherboard. So if we add it, it will be consumed from the production supply area. We will later see that it is not available anymore. So for the resistors, we'll do the same, and also for the capacitors we do the same. So as we can see now, we have created all of the components, and everything is green, everything is fine, we're good. So we can complete our SFC at the, or our material at the respective operation. So all that I've shown right now manually can also be conducted automatically. So the other processes that we have shown before, the testing and the labeling, will now be performed automatically. And yeah, that what I've just shown was just to give you an overview or a feeling of how the DMC is performing its tasks and how it goes through the different operations. So what we now like to show you also is that we have created a dashboard for yeah, our customized dashboard, which is responsible for the packaging of the material. So as you can see here, the look and feel is basically more or less the same as the default of the SAP dashboard. So we have the same filtering options. We can click on start, we have the sign off, we have the complete. But what we have included in here is the container button. So behind this container button is a standard plugin from the SAP that is pre-delivered, and which you can basically just per drag and drop in the dashboard designer include into your dashboard. So it's not very hard. So that it took a very long time to include this. So if we click on this, we can see that we can create a packing unit with our packaging material of carton large, with which we need to pack our motherboard, and the packaging unit can basically be, or it's generated automatically. So we create this packaging unit, and we are now able to include our material to this respective packaging unit. So if we filter for our order, which is 455, we can see that we have our 2 SFCs in place again, but only one has the status of done. So we're only able to pack this material into our packaging unit. The other one I can't add. So we're adding our material that is done, and we're packing it into the package unit. So what happens when I click on this pack button is a message is triggered to the EWM that we are laying the material, or the packaged material, on the production receiving area, where Tom can then take it and store it into the warehouse. So we'll pack the material, and now we'll look again if everything was, if we conducted everything in order. So we go back to the managed floor stocks. So we look into, did we really consume our materials? So we're filtering again, and we'll look into what we have created and what has been consumed. And as you can see, we have produced a B222 motherboard, which is of a material type finished. And what you also can see is that we have consumed the material we have on the production receiving area. So that is perfect. And when we go back to our presentation, we have conducted all of this, all of these production steps. So this we have conducted manually and these automatically. Now we have sent it back to the EWM, and now Tom is responsible for it again. So I hand over to Ulrika again. Okay.
So now we have seen how the DMC, in DMC we can assemble a manufacturing order with ease. The stock has now been transferred to EWM, like Alex mentioned. The moment we click on pack, we have an interface sending the stock back to EWM. For that, we search for any inbound stock with our manufacturing order, which is 455. Yeah. Here we can see that an inbound delivery has been created, and the packaging and the package we created over there, it had a different identifier, but the moment it goes into EWM, it has been assigned an internally generated SSCC. We look at the handling unit over here, right? So we see it has the same packaging material as in DMC, which is carton large. The stock that is inside this particular handling unit is our stock for today, our sample material for today, a B222 motherboard of quantity 1. Besides, we'll also take a look at the PP component of SAP ERP. For that, we'll go to CO03. We'll check into our order, and we can see that the number of quantities delivered is 1 now, which we have just manufactured. Thus, I think this concludes the demonstration for today. We have seen the interplay between the systems. Like three components are involved in today's demonstration: SAP PP, SAP EWM, and SAP DMC. We saw that how seamless the communication was between these 3 systems, and without thinking of the interfacing, or without thinking of the integration, how it's working, it just it was almost real time, or it was real time. So that concludes the demonstration for today. I'll then hand this over to Matthias.
Okay, so yeah, so now with the deep dive that we have seen in this DMC EWM integration, both from theoretical but also from practical point of view, seeing it live in a demo. So we basically covered what we intended to do for today. I think, as I already mentioned, I think please register for the next upcoming sessions that we mentioned. So it's a series now of webinars, and yeah, please sign up. Looking forward to meet you in one of those sessions again. But I mean, let's now look at the questions that we have received so far. And if you haven't posted your question, post them right now, as I mentioned, on the right side of the screen in the chat box. And I see already a few of them. There's one question, I think probably for you, Rita. When is the consumption for the material triggered from the DMC to the EWM system?
Right, so we saw at point in time Felix, represented by Alex, for today's demonstration. We in the assembly operation, we said that, okay, this is the quantity that we're consuming, this is the quantity of component we're consuming. Right at that moment, the consumption is communicated back to EWM, and not only EWM, the ERP system as well. It's very real time that all these things are happening. Not only consumption, I say goods receipt, everything is very real time.
Yeah. Also, it depends a bit on the configuration. So you can do it in real time, as Rita said, as soon as you have assembled the components. But if you like to make the goods issue at the end of the, or at the completion of the SFC, you can also do that. If you want to reduce your data traffic, for example.
Okay, one more. Can we use DMC and EWM RF for manufacturing operations in parallel?
Well,
Alex,
I think yes, we can configure, or we can set up a few lines to work in DMC, and we can also set up a few lines of the same plant to work in EWM RF. We can parallelly have both the setups in the same warehouse. I think it will depend on how the shop floor is, or how much we want to control the production lines over there. Yeah, yes, in short, yes, it is possible to have DMC and EWM RF manufacturing processes working in parallel.
Okay. In terms of how do we replicate master data, there's a question whether it's DRF, SIF, or what technology is being used here to integrate master data to DMC, basically.
Right. So now I think like in EWM, we with the S4HANA setup, we're moving to DRF. So DRF can be used over here as well. The type of interfaces, it's IDOC and data replication framework. We're using the SAP data replication framework to transfer materials, bill of materials, and everything, bill of materials, routing, work center materials, batches, everything to DMC. However, for the transactional data, we are either using IDOC or for some of them we are using TRFC, transactional RFC. We are using yeah. So it's for master data, it's SAP DRF with IDOCs, and for the transactional data, it's IDOC or some TRFC.
Then there's one question in regards to the demo. So as we're using the same systems as for HANA, EWM, and PP, both in the same system, is there any specific reason why we have done so, if I understand the question correctly? I mean, of course, it doesn't have to be, it can be also decentral EWM system. I mean, in our demo, we use an embedded EWM system, so that's why we have PP and EWM running on that same system in the end. But of course, it can be done also if it's a decentral EWM. I think there are a few more questions coming up. Probably we need to answer some of them afterwards because it's quite a lot. One more here. What kind of visibility do we have on production operations from DMC? Alex or Richard?
Okay.
Want to take that one?
Can you repeat what? Okay, Rita? Okay.
Yes. So the kind of visibility, I think like now this is one of the thing with DMC, that the same DMC, since it's on cloud, we can connect different plants, I mean, and production lines from all different plants across the globe to the same DMC. Thus we have I'll say a very good visibility drilling down to the production line level of what is the kind of wastage we're doing in each of the line, what is the production rate in each of the lines, and we can have a comparative analysis across the globe, thereby identifying which is the line not working so efficiently, or which is where we can have improvements. So these kind of visibility we have from very top to directly down to the line level, the production line level.
Okay, I mean, we have many more questions, but I'll suggest that we keep them. So thanks for sending all the questions. We reach out to you individually to answer those. I think it's great to have these high number of questions here. But as mentioned, let's target them individually, and because we already at the end of this 45-minute presentation and webinar, but we'll reach out to you individually and come back to you. So yeah, with that, for everyone else who we will not reach out to, thanks a lot for joining. For those who reach out to us, also thanks for joining. We reach out to you again. As mentioned, look out for the upcoming webinars. It was a pleasure to have you in our session today. And in case of any questions, further questions, unanswered ones, we will come back to you. In case there are new ones, let us know. Happy to reach out to you and ask or answer all of the remaining questions. So thanks again for the participation, and yeah, have a great day and goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.